What's going on, everybody? This is Joe.
And Amy.
And we are Geek for All. And we are here today for a very special video about Varia. This is, I think, the third time that we've been able to do this, which is incredible. Each and every time, we're more and more surprised and excited. But we are here to bring you yet another Varia preview card.
Yes.
Because Varia is coming out with their new Samurai vs. Ninja Battle Box. We'll talk more about that later, but if you are already aware and you just want to get to the preview card, I don't blame you. So let's check out our video for our preview card, Twin Step Stance. So, there you have it. That is the video for our card, the Twin Step Stance. Obviously, we will talk more about the card and the mechanics and etc. in a moment. But Amy, what I want to know from you is, Samurai or Ninja?
I think I prefer Samurai just as a character, perhaps, but as, as for who I think will win, I'd have to say Ninja.
Okay. Do you want to expand on that a little more, or you want me to give my feelings on it first?
You can give your feelings on it first.
Okay. I think I agree with you, or actually, no, I think I disagree with you, interestingly. There are two of us here, and we didn't do it on purpose. This is just, sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. I think Ninja as a character is more interesting to me. But I think in a fight, it's actually truly a toss-up. And I think with Varia specifically as a game, it's very clever. So shout outs to the Varia team. And obviously, if I didn't say it before, I'm required to do so, but I really want to as well thank them for this free preview card that they've given us. Because again, just an incredible experience all around. But I digress. I think that Samurai versus Ninja is such an interesting concept for Varia to delve into specifically, because their game has the movement mechanic. And the way that I see Samurai versus Ninja going is, I think up close and personal, Samurai wins every time. But from a distance, I don't think you could beat Ninja. I think Ninja have a lot more capabilities normally with whether it be like shuriken-style weapons or throwing darts. Sometimes they have things that are like poisonous, and so you can throw poison from a distance. And Samurai, I think, would have a lot tougher of a time dealing with that, whereas up close and personal, and their fighting ability and stuff like that, and their katanas, I would put my money on Samurai in a head-to-head fight like that kind of every time.
Yeah, I have to disagree, because I feel like Ninja would have a lot of the same skills that a Samurai has, but I feel like they expand on that even more, because Samurai are soldiers. Ninjas are assassins.
Okay.
And you have to have the basis of being a soldier there, or at least the principles of being a soldier, whether you are one or not, right? And then you kind of expand on that to have the skills to be an assassin, I feel.
Okay. I love this debate and these discussions. And I obviously, with literally anything that we talk about today, especially the card itself, if you have feelings, opinions, etc., we want to know. Let us know down in the comments below. That's what the comment section is for. Obviously, respectful debate. It's literally never been anything but as a reminder. But yeah, so we have a card from the Samurai deck, specifically the Sunrise Samurai deck, because this, as I said, is from the Samurai versus Ninja Battle Box. And so this is the Sunrise Samurai versus the Sunset Ninja, which again, flavorful. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Because as Varia very well knows, we love some flavor around here. And like I said, with the kind of movement mechanics that the game has of moving towards your opponent, away from them, etc. It works really well with the samurai versus ninja style that kind of I was describing of how I would kind of foresee a samurai versus ninja battle going.
Right.
Let's talk about our card for a little bit. So, mechanics-wise, they cost 2 action points. It's called Twin Step Stance, as we said. It says your actions in this moment and future moments have, before you pay to perform this action, you may choose 1. Either create a Twin Step Strokes token as a replacement for this action, or create a Twin Step Reflexes token as a replacement for this action. It is a physical tactics card. So I am very interested to see more from this style and this this card and see what it does, and to see those tokens as well, the Twin Step Strokes and the Twin Step Reflexes. And if you all know anything more about our card that you're like, you know how you would want to combo it with other cards from the Samurai deck or even from other decks. Ooh. Right? Because you can do not out of the box constructed, right? If you want to go a little bit a level up, so to speak, you can always pair these cards with other cards from other boxes and pre-constructed decks. So, and I'm always interested in hearing that from people, because even in other card games that we play, I am not very good at brewing. And I know that there are other people who are extremely passionate about that and very good at it. And so I always love hearing from them. So if you are one of those folks, definitely hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you're most excited about with this card to be able to kind of pair it with in your own constructed decks.
We love hearing from anyone in the comments also.
Fair.
If you've got something else to talk about too.
Exactly. In fact, Amy,
yes.
Since your expertise a lot more than me when it comes to these things is art, do you want to talk about the art a little bit?
Sure. I really love this art. To me, it looks like traditional painted. It looks like the background is maybe oils.
Yeah, we even get a nicer look at it kind of over here too.
Yeah.
When it's like more zoomed in like that.
Yeah, and honestly, that specific spot right there is what kind of tips me off to it being oils as opposed to, say, watercolors.
Okay.
You can actually see the oil there, I feel like.
Sure.
And then I feel like our character here and the foreground, these reeds or grass or plant of some kind, is maybe a water-based paint instead. So I would think that this is acrylic over top of the oil, and it looks like she was done with like a wet brush technique for the acrylics.
Okay.
And then the reeds were done with a dry brush technique. And I would even say that it was that they waited, like they painted her and then they let the paint dry a little.
Sure.
Before doing the dry brush technique with the reeds. Because it's got such a dry texture to it. It literally is drier than acrylic paint is. So I think they, when they painted her, that they sort of like wet the brush, painted with acrylics her, and then this foreground plant part of the painting, they actually like let that paint sort of sit on the palette for a little while to dry out a bit before they dry brush techniqued the drier paint and made those reeds. So it creates such a different texture, and it's really, really cool how it's 3 separate textures and 3 separate styles and 2 separate types of paint. It really speaks to how much the artist cared about this piece.
Well, and obviously I'll point out, hopefully you all can see it as well, but at the bottom left of the card there, it does state that this art is done by Wesley Gardner. So appropriate shout-outs to Wesley. Very, very well done. And it's so interesting that, with you pointing out these techniques, I have drawn and have colored things in my time, but not to any extent more than for casual enjoyment. And the techniques that you're discussing, you're just like, oh yeah, they probably like let it dry on the stencil or whatever, and like
on the palette.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word, so I just went with stencil. Thank you. To let it dry on the palette, like I would never have thought of that as a concept. That being able to do that would get you this type of a thing. And again, that's why I'm not the artist of the two of us. Amy is. So.
Well, I can't say that if I was in that position, I would have done the same thing. I can't say I would have been like, I really need to create this super dry brush texture, for these reeds. So I'm going to let the paint dry some before applying it.
Sure.
It just, when I'm looking at it, that's what I see.
Okay.
So, I can't say it from the perspective of someone who's about to paint the painting. I can say it from the perspective of someone who's deconstructing the painting that's already done.
Okay, sure.
Does that make sense?
Sure, of course it does. But again, that also, I hope you're not kind of diminishing your own points there, because I think art critique is just as important as art technique, so to speak, not without,
I'm not comparing the two. I'm simply stating that I feel the two are different.
Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely.
The other thing is I really like this sort of pen and ink and then colored in style of, I guess, sort of, I would call it a concept art to like indicate how else to paint her in this painting, except that I'm sure that it's the art of another card or something.
Yeah, I think it's, I was saying, I think it's like the cover art for the box, I would assume, or the individual box, not the battle box.
So it's not actually a concept art, but this other art that's here, I like this style. It's got much more of a samurai feel than the painting does, of course, because it's sort of inherently more of what you would think of as being like a Japanese style art.
Okay.
But I almost feel like her helmet here is a little bit sort of Thai inspired. And then she being a woman and she being Indian, it looks like. I feel like adds a lot of sort of diversity to what people think of a samurai as. And so I think that's sort of a cool creative thing for Varia to decide to do.
Absolutely.
As well as, of course, something that kind of makes the samurai in this game a little bit more accessible to different people, feeling like they can identify with this character more.
For sure. There is a link in the description down below that will take you to the preview link for this, because as you saw in the video, right, it will be available in December, but you can always go look at the information page for this battle box in general, and it'll tell you a bit about the lore behind these characters as well. But we learned, and you will learn if you go there and read about it, that the two characters, the Sunrise Samurai and the Sunset Ninja, are twin sisters. And our character depicted here, the Sunrise Samurai, is named Hera, which I think is very interesting because we have been recently on our channel, and this is not necessarily to plug ourselves, but it's just a fact.
Yeah.
We recently, obviously, right now we're in spooky month, so we're going to be doing some Halloween themed content, but we have been playing through the God of War series of games, which originally started, for those who are unaware, as a game where you try to become the Greek God of War, and in God of War 3, you come across Hera. And now our character here is named Hera. And I know for a fact that that Ant, who communicates with us from Guildhouse Games, one of the creators of this game, is a fan of God of War as well. So, and again,
Yes.
possibly also just a fan of Greek mythology, but just in general. So I think that that's a very interesting a little Easter egg there for maybe only us. But
I'm sure it's not that specific, right? But it does, I feel, add that extra little bit more diversity to this character, to the concept of a samurai and what it means.
Yeah.
And it certainly helps the game be relatable and maybe a little bit more fun for more people.
For sure. In fact, we have a little bit more to talk about with this because, again, as I said, the folks at Guildhouse Games, right, who create Varia, and again, amazing, awesome people, and shout outs to them as always. They know that we love art around here and that Amy is here. And so we have one more thing to talk about with regards to the art for this card.
Yes.
Our card is actually part of a dual art card image. So again, Amy being the person who enjoys art very much, we enjoy flavor in general. I loved when we first, long time ago, and maybe at some point on here I can link the playlists to our Varia deck reviews that we've done already. But I vividly remember really enjoying finding the cards in the box where it's like, oh, whoa, it's the two arts that go together. Like, that's just, again, such a cool thing to just find out of the box itself, and just be able to, like,
create one picture with the two cards.
yeah. And obviously, if you go back and look at the main image on Twin Step Stance, you don't see the sword from this character on the right-hand side, because they were able to kind of put that character in this art. And I'm not going to pretend that I know exactly how they did it. There are probably many different techniques and stuff that somebody with more expertise than I could discuss. But I like that. I like that Easter egg in there of like, not necessarily Easter egg if that's not the right term, but like being able to find those two cards and look at them and go, wait a minute. The reeds at the bottom, that one looks like this one. Like these, are they connected somehow? And then if you are able to go online and find this art, that you're then able to see them together like that stuff I love. I just absolutely love that. That's definitely my jam. I don't know if you want to talk now more about kind of the more specifics.
Yes, so I do think that's very cool. So I'll talk about the art on this right-hand side now as well. I like the fact that this character is less soft than she is. So there is more of a dry brush technique used for this character. Not entirely, right? But to create texture again. So down here, under the belt, there's more texture there to kind of create a little bit of chaos, to kind of show a lot more movement from the legs, right? And then he has a strong, much more unmoving torso, right? And then the arms, we've got some smearing happening on purpose, right? So the arms were painted, and then again, a dry brush was sort of they didn't add more paint. They just sort of smeared it with a dry brush. Or the dry brush that had the paint on it that painted the hands. They just painted the hands, made sure that there was not more paint left, and they just smeared it with a dry brush. But for the sword, they smeared it with a wet brush. I think because the sword is made of a shiny material.
Okay.
So they maybe thought that using the wet brush technique on the sword made more sense. Whereas for like the leather armor, they wanted more texture. And so they used the dry brush technique for that smearing.
Okay.
But it's really just to create that movement. You know, it's just to tell your brain that the arms are moving, the sword is swishing through the air. Yeah.
Wow. I will say, obviously we don't know, or we have not seen yet. Maybe by the time our video comes out, you all have. But we have not seen yet the card that the right-hand character is depicted on.
Right.
But it's so interesting that when these two characters in this main art now is put together, I find it so much more interesting because psychologically, and you tend to talk about this a lot, so I would love to know if you agree or disagree with me, because maybe I'm just talking out my butt. But to me, when I look at this, you can tell that even in the collective image, she is the focus. He is turned away. He's in darker colors with a bright background. She is in brighter colors.
His face is almost hidden by his own arm.
And by I was going to say his hat, and that's super offensive. The brim of his helmet. Okay. Like that baseball cap that he's wearing.
They put a thing on
it. You can't see eyes. And even if it's a mask, which it is, right? Yeah. You can't see any feature that even resembles eyes. And eyes being the windows to the soul, you would get a connection to the character there in some capacity. And it, in this case, I assume does not matter. I assume that this is some nameless training partner or like an old rival or something like that that's being depicted here against our main character, Hera. So Hera is the focus, even though, and I find it interesting because this art is not something that you would see collectively on a card, right? You would see them separate from one another. But when you put it together, it's just a whole nother layer of a story being told about these two, and that it's a story that's told without a single word. Right? That, yeah. I love that. The more flavor, the better. All the time. Yeah. Like, it's just, that's the kind of, that's what I think of when I look at this image.
Sure.
And I know I've learned a lot of that from Amy, to be honest, is that, you know, you'll talk about like, look at how it pulls focus to this particular portion, or there's brightness, there's darkness, there's lines pointing this way and that way. And so I feel like I've learned a lot from that. And that's, when I look at this, that's what stands out the most to me.
Sure.
I think.
Sure. Absolutely. And, you know, there might be another card of this specific character where you do see those things, where there is much more light on the face, where you are seeing the eyes, where they are much more forward-facing in their stance, because it's a card where they're the focus.
Right. And I would imagine, I would take a guess that there isn't. Like I said, I think this is truly a nameless random enemy or an old like training partner or something like that isn't as impactful. Maybe I'm wrong. This is purely a prediction. I have no inside info on that aspect of it. But looking at this, that would be my guess.
Yeah, but I absolutely think you're right in that. And you can kind of see for her, there's the bright light is sort of surrounding the front of her. It's shining down on top of the sword that's pointed down toward her.
Yes.
And then the on her hair and on her face, the light really tries to like bring your eyes to her.
Yes.
Right? In a way that obviously it's not for the right hand character.
Right. And
much.
Right. And that's why I was saying too, I mean, she is she's wearing brighter colors. Mm-hmm. She is lit brighter. Whereas the character on the right is in darker colors and in more shadow. Again, because as you mentioned, he's kind of faced away from us as the viewer. And so there is more shadow on even the portions of him that we are able to see, because kind of his legs are pointed at us, right? But his head is not, and his arms kind of are not. So, right. Yeah, very, very awesome the way that was done. So, yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's gorgeous. I mean, just stunning.
Yeah, if that needed to be said, I hope that we did mention it, but if it's unclear, we're really enjoying this picture. We've only talked about it for a number of minutes, so I just wanted to close it out by talking about the product itself. I don't know that they even asked us to do this, but I think the stuff that we looked at is pretty darn cool.
We're going to.
Exactly. So if you all want to pick up this product, again, check the link in the description down below to take you to the product info page if it is before December. And then if it is after December, if that link is available, maybe I will come in here and add another link down below for where you can pre-order or purchase or whatever. But as they said in the video, check with your local game store. Ask your local game store about whether they stock Varia. Show them these videos. I don't necessarily need you to show them mine, but you could, or you could push them towards the website, etc. So, like I said, the link in the description down below is the info for the actual product itself, the physical product, for when it becomes available. It lists the MSRP, etc. So I encourage you to follow that link, check out all the information that's there. To be honest with you, there's not a lot of it, so it should not take you a lot of time. But if you are interested in picking this up, it is both decks in the box. In fact, if you watched our starter deck, our starter set box review that we did for Varia, it reminds me of that, which is great because we loved that product as a concept.
I did love that product.
Absolutely loved it. So if I haven't linked it up at the top already, go check it out in the top corner, our review of the starter set for Varia, because this is very similar to that. It is both decks. Sunrise Samurai, Sunset Ninja, the dice that you would need as well. You can literally just buy this box, go home and play it. You need nothing else. You could buy this box and go to anywhere and play it. It doesn't matter. And if you're buying it at the local game store, you could just play at the local game store as well.
Right. Where you might then have a friend to play with.
Exactly. So I think that this is... It said it seems to be the new standard going forward for how this is going to go. And I'm very intrigued by that because, again, we were so excited by the concept of the starter set. And this seems to be just the next logical step to that.
Right.
So I'm excited that this exists in the way that it does. But this is what the box will look like when you pick it up. So this is the battle box on the right-hand side of the box, kind of in the purples and blues. You see what a little glimpse at what the Sunset Ninja looks like. And then on the left there, obviously we've already seen a fair bit of Hera, but that is what the Sunrise Samurai will look like, or does look like. And then once you get into the box, this is what the contents will look like as well. So again, Ninja on the left, Samurai in the middle, so to speak, and then the guidebook on the right-hand side, because you will get a guidebook that gives you the rules as well. So I didn't technically mention that, but you don't need to know the rules beforehand. There's a rule book included in the box. It also has a cool comic in there, so flavor, story, lore, all of that is going to be in there for you. And it comes with the dice, too. So you don't need extra dice. You don't need any of it.
Yes.
It all comes in the box, ready to go. Like I said, they didn't ask us to do this, but it's so cool. Like, just,
Right.
you know, if this is something that you're interested in doing and you're interested in a fun, cool play experience, literally right out of the box, in my opinion, I don't think you could go wrong.
Right. It's pretty great. You get 2 full decks that are specifically designed to be a good match for one another.
Correct.
And balanced.
Correct.
You don't have a deck in there that's always going to lose and a deck in there that's always going to win.
Yep.
You've got every dice, every dice that you need, all the dice, and you've got, a rule book to help you through actually the gameplay, and then you also have a comic because why not? It's great.
Yeah.
And then you know what the story is behind why these 2 people are fighting each other.
Exactly. Especially because I mentioned that they're sisters. Why
Right.
would sisters fight? Read the comic. You'll find out. And like I said, check out the product page, link down in the description box below. But otherwise, I think that's it. It's another preview card in the books. This thing looks amazing. And by this thing, I mean the battle box itself, but also Twin Step Stance.
Right.
What a cool card. I'm super grateful and happy as always that we got it.
Yes.
Right? And I, as always, want to thank Guildhouse Games, Varia, and the team behind it for thinking of us, including us, etc. If you want to see more from us, Varia or non-Varia related, you're in the right place. This is our YouTube channel, Geek for All. Thank you so much for joining us here. Obviously, not obviously. If you're unaware, we have other channels as well. Links down in the description box below for Video Games for All.
And gluten-free for all.
So if you are interested in gluten-free food, either reviews or cooking, that channel is great. Amy is doing incredible stuff over there, by the way.
Thanks.
And if you are interested in video game content, I am introducing Amy to video games over on Video Games for All. Video games that Amy has never played before. And if you go over there and watch, you will see that that is
Definitely
all of
the
them.
case.
Yes. And it's many, if not all, video games. I
Yes.
just mentioned that we were going through the God of War franchise. We'll be getting to Ragnarok once October, mid-November or so of 2023, as we're filming this here. That's when we'll be getting to the new God of War Ragnarok, which both of us will be seeing for the first time. But Amy...
That's exciting.
Yes, but over the course of the last 6 months or so, Amy has seen all of the God of War franchise from the beginning for the first time ever. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, an adult experiencing games that some of us grew up with for the first time, thank you. For the first time ever, I couldn't think of the words, thank you. That is what Video Games for All is for. And then if you're fans of other trading card games like Magic the Gathering, that's what this channel is for. We are live on this channel every Monday and Friday. In October, it's Thursday. It's a little weird. But once we get into November and beyond, it is Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern, both days. Mondays and Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. Mondays, we play Magic the Gathering Arena for Magic Monday. And on Fridays, we play whatever video game we happen to be playing at the time. Like I said, in October, we are going to be streaming spooky games, or a spooky game for the month of October. So feel free to join us. That's on Thursdays in October. And then once we get into November and beyond, it's Fridays, still all at 8 p.m. Eastern. We would love to have you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us for this video and for anything else that you choose to join us for here on this Geek for All family of channels. And for now, from us here at this Geek for All family of channels, I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.